Scattered throughout Dallas, Texas in the 1960s, Soviets invade the United States of America. Vania destroys a missile in mid-air with her powers. Klaus and Diego show off some amazing new abilities. Allison blows a few guys' minds, and the world is destroyed by a nuclear warhead. And that's all within the first 5 minutes. Yes, I am talking about season 2 of the Umbrella Academy. So make sure you guys stay tuned for this episode of The Urban Nerd. What's up, everybody? Thank you for jamming with me again on another episode of The Urban Nerd. And today we're talking Umbrella Academy. The season 2 has dropped in its entire catalog on Netflix this past Friday, and I definitely felt like I had to talk about it. I know I said I was going to be doing DuckTales this episode, but that was before I knew that Umbrella Academy was going to be dropping. So let's talk a little bit about it. First, if you're not familiar with the show, I'm going to do a recap of season 1. If you guys have not seen Umbrella Academy season 1 or season 2, make sure you guys go ahead and watch both seasons before you listen to this podcast, because I'm going to be doing a little bit of dibbing and dabbing in both seasons, and there will be spoilers. I'm going to try to keep the spoilers very limited best I can. I'm going to try to keep it to within the first 5 episodes of season 2. So let's get right into the recap of season 1. 1989, 43 babies were born to women who were previously not even pregnant that morning, and 7 of those children were adopted by a mysterious billionaire named Reginald Hartgrave. Reginald, along with a caretaker robot that he built and a talking simian named Mr. Pogo, raised these 7 superpowered children to become a dysfunctional superhero team known as the Umbrella Academy. Reginald was such a cold-hearted SOB, he actually didn't even give those 7 children's names. He gave them numbers. They later on named themselves. And here they are, a short character breakdown. Number 1, Luther, was born with super strength and was named the team's leader. He's a bit insecure about his abilities and his role on the team, and he's always constantly trying to live up to Reginald's expectation. When a mission goes wrong, he is injured almost to the point of death and is given a serum that gives him his ape-like physique in what you see him in the beginning of the season. Number 2, Diego has the ability to manipulate objects around him, which he mostly uses on his throwing knife. He has a bit of a inferiority complex that matches his survivor complex, and he's a bit of an impulsive hothead. He reminds me of like Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he's also like the vigilante superhero type, always out trying to stop crime while at the same time getting in trouble with law enforcement. Then you have Allison, who has a like really dope ability, and that is to compel anybody to do whatever she says by quote unquote rumoring them to do so. Allison became famous after being with the Umbrella Academy as a famous superhero team. She went on to be an actress and had her own family and even had a kid, which was taken away with her because she used her powers on her kid to compel her kid to do something against her will. Number 4, we have Klaus, who has the ability to communicate with the dead, and that forces him to become a bit of an alcoholic and a druggie, as he feels like he needs to be inebriated to drown out the voices of the dead spirits around him. Number 5, who is by far the most developed, well-rounded, crazy, fun, and entertaining character in the Umbrella Academy thus far. If you don't agree with me, please tell me down in the comments below. Who do you feel like is the best character in the Umbrella Academy so far? But anyway, 5 was never really given an actual name, at least not up until the point of season 2. We don't know what his name is or what he decided to name himself, so we just call him 5. He has the ability to teleport and travel through time and space. He jumps decades into the future and gets stuck in a post-apocalyptic future all by himself, where he falls in love with a mannequin named Doris, because that is the only attachment he had to the world in all the years he was stuck in the apocalypse before the commission recruited him to become an assassin. The commission we're going to talk a little bit about more because they are extremely, extremely important in both seasons. So eventually, Five travels back to 2019 to try to prevent the apocalypse from ever starting, and that gets him trapped in his younger body, which is why we see little kid Five in both seasons. Number six is Ben, who had the ability to transform into like a deadly tentacle like monster, which proved really helpful in the days when the Umbrella Academy were a crime fighting team. Unfortunately, Ben lost his life on a mission. The details of how he died have not yet been disclosed. But I feel like because the way that season two ended, we're gonna get a little bit more or Ben's backstory. So make sure you guys are watching this show. There's so much to give. But after his death, Ben becomes a companion to Klaus because, as I said, Klaus has the ability to talk to the dead. And last but not least, we have Vanya, beautiful, lovely, innocent old Vanya, who is believed at the beginning of the series to be powerless. She is easily forgotten and discarded by her fellow siblings and is treated like trash by her father because he makes her believe and does his best to force her to believe that she is nothing special. She has no powers, no abilities. There's nothing special at all about her. So she goes on to write a tell-all book about her family and all of their secrets, and that causes them to further isolate her away from them. Later on, she discovers she not only has powers, but she is the strongest of them all. Again, that is going to be key in what happens in the rest of this season. So now, again, if you haven't seen season one, I'm going to do a short recap of the whole season. I hope I don't give you any spoilers. Again, I advise you guys to watch the whole first season and at least the first 5 episodes of season two before you guys get into this podcast. So here's the breakdown. You've been warned. At the start of season one, the Umbrella Academy is broken up, and Reginald apparently kills himself in an attempt to reunite all 7 children at his funeral. Five returns from being trapped in a post apocalyptic future and warns the team that the world is coming to an end and they must stop it. The Time Commission, a timeline correction organization, sends assassins to try to kill Five as they believe that the apocalypse has to happen in order for the world to be right, in order for the timeline to be corrected. Sidebar: one of the assassins is Mary J. Blige. Yes, the R&B legend Mary J. Blige. And it was such a pleasure to see her in such a role because I didn't know she had that kind of grit. She can be that kind of actor. So it was like it was a nice little token to see Mary J. Blige do her thing on screen and kick butt like she did in the Umbrella Academy. So, shout out to you, Mary J. Blige. You did your thing, boo boo. But long story short, Vanya discovers her powers. What is one of those situations where like I felt it was a little bit cliche. Like at the beginning, it for me in my head, I was like, there was no way that those seven, that 6 out of the 7 are all gonna have these really cool powers, and she's just not gonna be able to do nothing. I didn't think that the way it played out, how the father suppressed her abilities, it led her to believe she didn't have powers. I didn't think it was going to play out like that. I thought like her powers were going to blossom throughout the series, and that was going to be the key to stopping the apocalypse. What I did not know or did not expect was her powers being the cause of the apocalypse. That threw me for a loop. Yes, little powerless Vanya is so strong. Her powers literally caused the apocalypse that Five came back in time to stop. How does that happen? Like this: Vanya discovers her powers and learns that the whole time her father knew of her abilities, and that the reason he treated her like trash, made her feel like garbage, was because she was quote unquote the bomb, and that her powers were too unstable and it was too great for her. And she, because of that, the way she was treated, she started to think at think of her family differently. She started to feel like they betrayed her, and Allison tried to talk her down and an attempt to get Vanya to not destroy the world. She went to use her powers, and Vanya actually sliced Allison's throat. Yeah, talk about change of character. In a fit of rage, Vanya loses control of her powers. She shoots a laser like beam up into the sky, destroying the entire moon. The moon breaks apart. A giant chunk of the moon begins to plummet towards the earth as Five teleports his family out of harm's way, and the moon meteor hits the earth, causing the apocalypse. That, in short, ends season one. Now, here we are in season two, right where we left off, where Five has teleported the family out of harm's way. Season two started off amazingly. At least for me, I thought it was a great start to it. Right off the beginning, you see the Umbrella Academy get spread out through the early 1960s. Five is the last one to arrive on the scene, and when Five arrives, he arrives as a war is deeply underway, and he runs up and he sees a paper that says the Soviets have invaded the United States. As he reads the paper, a missile is launched. A full giant missile shell is launched from a tank. And who stops it? None other than Vanya. Glowing, floating in the air, it disintegrates the missile. That it just the visual effects on just that alone was very well done. I gotta give props to the visual effects team behind the Umbrella Academy. That was just a stunning display of her abilities. And then you have Diego, who I really didn't understand his powers to the degree I understand it now after watching season two, who's on a car and a bunch of soldiers are shooting at him. He jumps off and does a flip and redirects all the bullets right back at the guys. Again, visually stunning. It was well choreographed, I should say. And then you have Klaus, who seemingly summons a horde of ghosts to attack the soldiers, and the ghosts are tangible. They were physically causing harm and wreaking havoc. I was a little iffy on Klaus in the sense of being a hero, but if that is the way his powers is evolving, man, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So then, out of nowhere, Hazel appears, grabbing Five, giving that famous cliche line, "Come with me if you want to live," and snatches Five out of that timeline as nuclear warheads hit the Earth and causes, yes, another apocalypse, which, yes, again, is witnessed by Five. Five and Hazel travel to 1963, where they are attacked by three white-haired gentlemen. Five barely escapes with his life, while Hazel takes a couple of bullets to the chest, and our man is not going to make it to the next episode here. Unfortunately, Five goes on the run, and as always, to begin his mission of regrouping everyone to again stop the apocalypse. Currently, you have Diego, who is in a mental home because he was on and ranting about the president being assassinated, and people started to think he was crazy. So he ends up getting locked up in a mental facility. Klaus starts a cult, as if anything else would happen with our guy Klaus. He starts an entire cult, and the following is just you just have to watch the season to understand. Allison gets married again as she clearly has a problem being alone and doesn't display the ability to be independent, at least not at this point. And Luther, of all things, is an underground fighter with his shirt off and everything. Like, he fully owns his ape body now, which is kind of cool to see because last time being, the big brute and being all shy and bashful was just a little uneasy for me. And then Vanya, who still does not have her memory, was hit by a car immediately after arriving in 1963. She was taken in by that family and lives on a farm. So with that said, let me say what I actually didn't like about this season. One being that I didn't like how this season started out very reminiscent of the first season. You know how everybody was scattered, living their own separate lives, having their own situations going on. Five arrives after a little time travel and once again has to gather them to stop a world-ending event, which is again caused by Vania. And I still can't get behind the Allison Luther love thing. It just, I know they're not blood related, but in any situation when two people grow up as brothers and sisters their entire lives and then just fall in love, that's always weird for me. I don't think that is a love story that was necessary to be implemented to develop either of their character, especially Allison. And speaking of Allison, I don't like that she is so codependent, and the first thing that she thinks to do is go and get married to somebody else once again. Um, a lot of the first season was spent on talking about her being in love and how codependent she was. So I was hoping that she would have been more independent this season. Vanya's arc was a little iffy with me. I mean, she becomes a homewrecker. You have to actually watch to see what I mean. And it annoys me that we were put in a situation where the world is about to end and you have to choose between leaving these people behind and saving the world, or being with this person and dying with this person when the world comes to an end. I those I hate those scenarios in any type of series where it's like one life versus the entire world or the entire galaxy. How can you not make, like, I understand being in love and losing people, it hurts. But at the end of the day, it's like lose this person and everybody, or just lose this person and save the world. That's, I don't really think that's a real big dilemma for me. That's an easy decision, clear cut decision. You have to save the world. The mass of lives, the billions of lives, are more important than the lives of one person. You know what I mean? Other than that, those small, minute things, this was a very, very pleasant season. I mean, there was a lot of cliches, a lot of things very reminiscent of the first season. But again, outside of that, man, this season was very visually stunning. It was great to see Vanya's power evolve and her take control of her powers. It was amazing to see Diego use his powers in different ways and different dynamics. It was awesome to see Luther own his body and own his power. The fights that Five has and the things that he has to do. Again, like I said in the beginning, man, Five is a very unique character, and I love his actor. He just owns Five as a character, man, and the things that Five does in this season, once again, is just amazing. Allison's art, outside of the love story, the being married thing, what she did to fight for equality in the 1963 was great. I can't wait to see what impact that has on season three. A lot of things they did in 1963, you have to make sure you take note of, because eventually they get back to their timeline, and you have to think how much of these things has a ripple effect. And I will say this without spoiling anything. At the end of the season, the cliffhanger, you instantly know things are different in the future. So, when you have the interaction of Vanya and the little boy Herman, I believe his name was, that's going to have a lasting impact on the future. Klaus running into his ex lover who died in war, that has to have an impact on the future. And every other interaction that the rest of the Umbrella Academy has had with everyone else, like Allison had a full marriage with a man and then disclosed everything about her powers to him, and they went back to the future, leaving that man behind. Again, without saying too much, the Umbrella Academy has a certain status in 1963 by the end of the season. So I wonder, how is that going to play out when people see them in public in season three? Like, oh man. But now we have to wait an entire another year probably for the next season of the Umbrella Academy. But fortunately, we have The Boys season 2 dropping, I believe, August 28th. So we only have about 3 weeks to wait for that. That is another series that is going to be amazing. They are like mirrors of each other, the Umbrella Academy and The Boys. The Boys being like hero hunters and the Umbrella Academy being dysfunctional heroes. Is great. It'd be amazing if the two can have like a crossover special with Amazon and Netflix to come to some kind of agreement for a one-time special. The Umbrella Academy meets the Boys, man. That would be phenomenal. Drop comments down below if you think that would be a great crossover. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think that would play out? What do you think the scenario would be where the two could possibly actually have a crossover? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys watch the Umbrella Academy. If you haven't, if you have, watch it again because I'm pretty sure there's some things that you missed. I'm going to go back myself and watch it again and look out for some Easter eggs and things of that nature and see what clues can I get for season 3. So make sure you look forward to the next episode, not the following episode after this, but sometime this season of the Urban Nerd, we're going to recast or rehash this conversation and talk about what can possibly happen in the future on season 3 of Umbrella Academy. Let's talk. I want to talk about the various interactions they had and the possible outcomes because again, it is amazing to see the impact they had on the various lives of the people that they met in 1963. So that about wraps it up for this episode of the Urban Nerd. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Make sure you check us out on all platforms. The Grumman Collective. We're on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, Podbean. We're also on social media: Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All the same name, The Grumman Collective. Make sure you tune in next week. Next week's episode, I'm going to do what I was supposed to do this episode, and we're going to head to Duckburg and talk about the 2017 remake of DuckTales. It's one of those cartoons that was brought back from my childhood. It brings back a lot of nostalgia, and I really, really thoroughly enjoy the current seasons of DuckTales and how they're incorporating everything from my childhood in this new forming Duckverse. It's a lot to talk about. We're going to do some comparisons. I'm going to make some predictions. And we're going to just get a real great conversation talking about old school cartoons like DuckTales. So let's make sure you're here for the next episode. If you haven't already, again, like I said, subscribe, click those notification bells, stay up to date. We're going to start giving away prizes. The summer is not over yet. There is still time to get things done, so don't fret. But while you're doing your thing, enjoying your summer, make sure you're tuning into the Grumman Collective. Peace, love, and see you guys in the next episode. I'm out.